Hello and welcome to our broadcast brought to you by LakeCam, Lakeville's Community Access Channel. My name is Katie Goodfellow and I'm currently the town moderator and a near lifelong Lakeville resident. This evening I'm interviewing Sylvester Zienkiewicz for the open seat on the Board of Selectmen. This position has garnered a lot of interest and 6 individuals have filed paperwork to be considered for this election. We've prepared a few questions for this interview for the citizens of Lakeville to learn more about our candidates. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer the same set of questions and have not been told these questions in advance. In addition, we encourage voters to attend the Selectmen Candidate Forum scheduled for October 16th at 7 p.m. in the Great Ponds Gallery of the Lakeville Library. The forum will also be available on LakeCam's government channel, Comcast 9 or Verizon 3, and on vimeo.com/LakeCam. So welcome, Sylvester.
Thank you.
And thank you for meeting with me today. The first question we have for you is, would you take a moment to share your background and why you're interested in running for the open seat on the Board of Selectmen?
My background is pretty long by now. Got about 45 years in construction as a carpenter or a cabinet maker or superintendent. And then after I retired from that, I went to teach public schools. And my last job was I was a shop teacher at Everett High School. And retired about 9 years ago. Currently, I'm on the planning board, have been for the last 10 years. And I'm interested in that. It's a board that works pretty well. If you watch us on TV, you'll see that everybody participates. We seem to be really into it, and it's not what people think. It's not like we plan anything. We're more a board of survey where we keep track of what happens to people's property lines, and occasionally we can have some sort of opinion on something, but the opinion doesn't count for anything. So I also sit on the Master Plan Implementation Committee, or the Master Plan Committee, for at least the last 5 years, maybe 6 years. That too, I think it's easier. There's amazing numbers. There's an awful lot of numbers available that help you realize what's going on in town and why it's happening, and they're free, and you get to you get to read them. And you can change your own mind about how things go. You can see how Lakeville's aging. Lakeville is still growing, though. At the same time, 1 or 2%, we're losing 1 or 2% of the school-age kids every single year. So there's a lot to think about, as you know, where your effort is going to go and where your money is going to go, and how it changes how it will change from year to year. And if you see it long enough and far enough back, you'll see that these trends are absolutely inexorable. I mean, they're traveling in a direction and they're not going to turn around. This is the way it's going to go. You can see it, and you might as well deal with it. Instead of using all of the ideas you have in the back of your head about how many kids belong to a house, and stuff like that. It's not that many kids don't belong in a house anymore. I mean, we know because we've counted them. I served on the water advisory board. And I think I made a real difference there. I had a very good committee a very smart committee with me. And I think through a lot of hard work, and this is stuff that the town wouldn't see, but a lot of pushing behind the, behind the scenes to the people that, ran the town at the time. We're the reason that we don't own the water tower anymore, but we still use the water tower, every day. We still have, the water tower was necessary, but owning it wasn't necessary. What else do I do?
I actually have a question about that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going
Thank
to
you.
just jump in and say, change up the questions a little. Why do you think voters should consider you the best candidate for this position?
I know a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of people. In this, like, after before I retired, I was still working 2 jobs, and I didn't have any time for Lakeville. I just noticed that one of the Lake Cam, I noticed on Lake Cam that there was something so amiss with the water tower that I just had to get into it. I just couldn't. I just couldn't resist staying away, and I met a bunch of people that way. I know an awful lot of people in town hall. I go to a town meeting, and in the last 10 years, I'm at a town meeting in front of this camera, roughly 1 day a week for the last 10 years. I mean, I'm here a lot. I see, I'm not happy with how town hall has been operating over the past year. And I'd like to change that up a bit. We have all new people there, and I think it's awfully important to get them started on the right foot. They don't have Rita there anymore to ask what we used to do, if you wanted to do what you used to do. But still, I mean, they're off on a new start, and I think they need all the help they can get. Being retired, I can put a lot of effort into it, yeah, I can put a lot of effort into it. That's why.
Thank you. So you already touched on this a little bit, but I'll probe a little bit more about your prior experience in serving the town. So how would your experience help you in this position? I think you've already explained a little bit about that, but would you like to say a little more to that
Okay,
question?
well, I didn't quite finish. I was on the Old Colony School Committee for 5 years, and there they use a big board, and we had subcommittees. The subcommittee that I was with was the Budget Committee, and I finished up there as being chair of the Budget Committee. There absolutely made a difference. We had it is running so nicely now compared to what it was, and I just it took a lot of effort, and it took a lot of just showing up and and attaboying and things like that, and just providing a lot of hours to be there to give people to support people as they're making dramatic changes. They made dramatic changes in their entire business outlook, and they made quite a few changes in their academic.
Okay. What do you think are the most pressing issues facing the town of Lakeville, and what do you think the board should be addressing?
What I would like to, what I would like to address, what's first? What I would like to address would be, I think we need more planning. Not planning, but we need more, I learned that writing it down, and writing it down, and writing it down, and handing it out, and just doing a lot of paperwork helps an organization a lot. It just plain gets more people involved, and it keeps you on a schedule better and stuff like that than this business of, well, we're going to do it by common sense. Well, better off with a, with a schedule and a, to-do list and, action items and things like that than this common sense approach. We're developing a little bit too fast. We're going at somewhere around 6% right now, and not when you consider that you're almost that you're almost losing 2% of the kids. That means you're actually gaining 8% of old folks, and you're going to have to deal with that many. The kind of housing that we have that we're building right now, and what we have in our zoning bylaw, is set up for families with children. That's this 3-bedroom, 2,500 square foot, 3,000 square. That's set up for children, and we need less of them. But it's the only thing we have in our bylaw right now. The only alternative we have to that is a 40R or a 40B, which is maybe a little smaller than a lot of people in town would like. So it's going to, these things are going to continue to push against each other. And because we still, there's certainly room for more housing, but not everywhere. And it's a big political thing, because if everyone's sitting on 70,000 square foot lots, that's what they expect out of the whole street and the whole neighborhood and things like that. So it's not good to be mixing housing everywhere. So it's a difficult thing, and it has to be dealt with each separate project as it gets proposed. The problem is, I mean, we have people that think that, they don't like a dollar store. Well, what we had there was it's zoned for business. They put it in the right zone. They have the right size lot. They have the right setbacks. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about that, except you might as well encourage it, because that's what 40 years ago you decided it was going to be business. Well, now here comes a business, and you better be happy about it. The same thing happens with when there's these open space ideas and stuff like that. Well, if you own it, you can have open space. So what the board can do is, one of these times when some of the chapter land comes out of chapter land, if it happens to be a useful project, you could actually think about getting the town to buy it. Now you have to go through the whole town meeting business and stuff like that, but that's which makes it go slower, which makes it more difficult to find enough developers that will be willing to do that for you and stuff like that, because they all want to do something in the next 4 weeks. But as long as everyone's just pushing slightly toward, if we all kind of approve it, sooner or later, one gets built. There won't be a lot of them, but we have to get some way of getting some more housing built that isn't 70,000 square foot.
Well, this second to the last question that we have for you actually ties in very nicely to what you were just talking about, which was, what role do you see the board playing in preserving the character of the town of Lakeville? What should we continue to preserve, and what should we consider changing? Would you care to elaborate more on that, or do you feel like I just answered that with the other question?
I'm not sure what how much. Of course, I'm sure. I know how much control you have. And it's not politically a great thing to run on, but you don't have a lot of things you can promise people. The town doesn't own a lot of land. I know several lots that the state owns that would be useful for, that could be useful for say, elderly housing. They're large lots, they're close enough to town water, and they're big enough that you could do their own sewage. It's in Lakeville, it's not that easy to find lots for dense housing because we don't have many places that have town water, and the septic problem is one that you have to build your own as you go, and that'll be the way. No one's expanding septic systems anymore. That's just the way it's going to be everywhere in the country. There are mini systems now that get built along with whatever's proposed, and they're just difficult to finance. Eventually the project gets to the point where it can make money, and then they finance it, and everything works. But right now, as long as there are options to it here in Lakeville, they'll just keep putting it in, just putting it into the ground.
Okay.
I can keep talking.
No,
I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, this is important. It's all important.
You want to ask me that one again, because I don't think I.
Well, we had one. This will allow you to do that. Anything that you additionally felt was important to share with the town?
We really need a town planner. That's if you vote for me and I win, we're going to get a town planner, because it'll help a lot to sell ideas, and to throw away ideas and stuff like that. Things will move a lot faster through the process of, I wonder what they're doing over there, and I wonder why they're not doing it here, and things like that. We can just be that can work a lot better, and if there's some community support, there are some more things we can do. Also, we have to have a housing authority. The town voted to have a housing authority, but it has never. This one doesn't even cost anything, but it has never assigned one, because people were saying, oh, it's going to be, free housing, and just weird ideas. But right now we have to give that work to the Middleborough people to just do the lotteries for the affordable housing and stuff like that. We have some money that we get in lieu of in lieu of building out affordable housing. Sometimes we get a payment from the developer, and we've just put that aside. But those things can work toward something, and especially it's so. What we have, one of the good things we have here in Lakeville is we have is that the land doesn't cost too much. This isn't like Belmont or where everything's already used up. There are places where you can get a decent deal on a nice looking piece of land where people would like to live and stuff like that. And that's the advantage we have. We have. We're not a farming community, we're a bedroom community. What we do best is build bedrooms right now. I don't know if you noticed the construction, but what we're best at is building bedrooms for our people, and then they go off and work wherever. But you should take advantage of what you have, and um, and enjoy it. That's yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your thoughts. I know that the people of Lakeville really appreciate your taking the time to be with us. And I will remind everyone that the Board of Selectmen Forum, Candidate Forum will be held on October 16th, which is also the last day you can register to vote in the special town election, which is slated for November 5th. We'll see you at the polls. Thank you.
Thank you.